In the past few months, there's a solid chance you've heard about Red 40. Not because you're reading the back of a Kool-Aid packet like a psychopath, but because it's been in the news. Politicians have been yelling about it, moms on TikTok are saying it gives their kids ADHD, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been on a crusade about it like it keyed Kid Rock's car. This stuff has been around since the 1970s, and now people are saying that it's the reason that your 8-year-old acts like he just snorted pre-workout at a Monster Jam rally.
Shut up, Chip, or I'll go ape shit on your ass. I'm gonna scissor kick you in the back of the head. Oh. I'm 10 years old, but I'll beat your ass.
And I'm pretty sure this is the shit that's responsible for that giant red dog. So the question is, what the hell even is Red 40? Where did it come from? How is it made? Why is it in everything? And how did something cooked up in an industrial chemical lab become one of the most controversial and most used products in modern food? Today, we're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Red 40, the most consumed artificial dye in America, a petroleum-derived colorant so aggressively red you might think it's a communist. But to understand where Red 40 comes from, we have to understand where all synthetic dyes come from. This is a history show after all. In 1856, a British chemistry student named William Henry Perkin was trying to do something wildly ambitious. He wanted to cure malaria, which I think we can all agree is a super noble cause. At the time, quinine, the only effective treatment for malaria, was extracted from the bark of cinchona trees and was extremely expensive. So under the guidance of his professor at the Royal College of Chemistry, Perkin attempted to synthesize quinine artificially using coal tar derivatives, a cheap industrial waste product from gaslighting and steel production. Instead of creating medicine, he got fucking black sludge. I don't know what he was expecting, honestly.
Well, what are you waiting for?
I don't know. Something amazing, I guess.
Me too, kid.
But when he cleaned the beaker with alcohol, he noticed something weird. The residue produced a vivid, brilliant purple solution that dyed silk permanently. The substance became known as mauvine, the world's first synthetic aniline dye. Within a year, he patented the process and opened up the world's first synthetic dye factory. And I assume at that point, he forgot all about wanting to cure malaria because there's money to be made, goddammit.
And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about this.
By the 1860s, mauve became a fashion sensation across Europe. It was worn by both Queen Victoria and the Empress of France. Before Red 40, before petroleum labs, and before kids drank liquids that glow under UV light, food coloring was made from, well, fucking food, beets, berries, turmeric, and yeah, even crushed insects. There seems to be this common misconception that Red 40 is made out of bugs. That's actually an entirely different food dye called carmine or cochineal, which is an all-natural red dye made from the crushed and dried corpses of this thing. And I would still argue that that's better than something made out of coal tar. But at the end of the day, I'm not a scientist or a chemist. I'm a chef with a YouTube channel that very few people actually watch, so what the hell do I know? By the late 1800s, food coloring is the Wild West. Candy dyed with lead, wine dyed with arsenic. The American people weren't asking, is this healthy? They were asking, is this gonna kill me? And guess what? Sometimes it fucking did.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
So the US government, under President Theodore Roosevelt, passes the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act, effectively telling companies that they can't poison the American people this much anymore.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair.
So they start testing dyes, and a lot of them fail, like spectacularly. Out of dozens of synthetic dyes, only a handful survive scrutiny, and over the next couple of decades, most of those got banned too. They were being linked to silly little things like cancer, organ failure, and neurological issues. Turns out that eating industrial waste runoff has consequences. By the mid-20th century, food manufacturing is booming. TV dinners, breakfast cereal, soda, candy marketed like toys to children. And the industry needs a red dye that is cheap, stable, heat resistant, and won't immediately trigger a congressional hearing. And this is where our main character, Allura Red AC, also known as Red 40, comes into play. The key architects behind this creation? Gustav E. Rast and Russell I. Steiner, two chemists born in Pennsylvania who worked for Allied Chemical. Here's the dumbed down version of how it's made. Red 40 starts its life as petroleum. The same crude oil that eventually becomes gasoline, plastic, and jet fuel contains tiny little building blocks that chemists can isolate. From that oil, manufacturers extract compounds and turn them into smaller molecules that are really good at doing two things: sticking to stuff and reflecting light at a very specific wavelength.
Yes, science!
After that, it gets filtered and purified, turned into a powder or a liquid, and then shipped off to manufacturers where a very small amount can dye an entire batch of soda or candy red. In 1971, Red 40 was registered with the FDA to replace Red 2, which was under scrutiny and then later banned in 1976 for potential health risks. And by 1980, they were pumping out 5 million pounds of this stuff a year. This stuff doesn't fade. It doesn't oxidize easily, and it doesn't give a damn about heat, acid, or time, which makes it perfect for cereal, candy, sports drinks, and anything aimed at children with the attention span of a caffeinated ferret.
Greatest generation my ass. Tom Brokaw is a poem. Chip, I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Red 40 isn't food, it's visual engineering. Your brain sees red and thinks, ooh, cherry, strawberry, flavor, color, whatever.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Now let's talk controversy. By the late 80s, researchers started to notice something weird. Kids consuming artificial dyes were showing increased hyperactivity, irritability, and attention issues. One of the most influential studies was the 2007 Southampton study conducted in the UK, which made the suggestion that mixtures of artificial dyes could contribute to increased hyperactivity in children. Not everyone, not always, but enough to make people uncomfortable. This led the European Food Safety Authority to reevaluate all of its synthetic dyes. Now in the EU, foods containing Red 40 require a warning label stating that it may affect behavior in children. And in the US, well, their reaction is about what you'd expect.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
The FDA says Red 40 is safe within acceptable limits, which sounds great until you realize that those limits assume one product occasionally in moderation, not red cereal, red drink, red candy every single day. In the last year, Red 40 has stopped just being a background ingredient and has become a front page issue in America. Why? Well, because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has decided to make this stuff a presidential level debate. He's been telling food companies to ditch Red 40 like it's a bad Tinder date, calling it synthetic nonsense with no nutritional value and a side of hyperactivity. And to be fair, he's not entirely wrong. The FDA is jumping on board too, approving natural alternatives and making it easier for companies to slap a no artificial dyes label on their products. Some major retailers have also said they're already phasing it out. So soon your favorite bright red soda might have colors that actually come from something that's grown in the dirt rather than in a lab. And the internet is losing its fucking mind. Moms, TikTokers, and girls with a penchant for Big Red and hot Cheetos are shouting their opinions into the void. So whether you see this as a win for public health, an overreach of government power, or just the latest food craze headline, Red 40 has officially left the shadows and is now part of a bigger debate about what we eat and why. 170 years after a guy trying to cure malaria accidentally created the color purple, and we're still doing the same shit. Red 40 is a product of its time. A product optimized for scale, shelf life, and profit. Consumers wanted food that looks the way it tastes, and manufacturers wanted to make a metric fuck ton of money without being sued into oblivion. Is it dangerous? The science says it's safe for most people. Is it controversial? Absolutely. Behavioral studies, European warning labels, parental anxiety, political sound bites, it's all part of the modern food narrative. The debate isn't really about one food dye, it's about trust. That we can trust in regulators and trust in our government and trust in the idea that something that's made out of petroleum can live safely in our food without killing us or fucking over an entire generation. I don't really know where to go from here, so thanks for watching, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoy content like this, check out some of my other food history videos. If you need something a little more unhinged, me and my friends occasionally get together for a podcast where we talk about the service industry and restaurant life, and we drink on camera. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay salty, my friends. See you next time.